Um, because it was already 2 minutes later that plan. Maybe I will to start the visiting lecture today. Um, Dr. Moses, here I will accompany you for visiting lecture activities today. Okay. Um, and good night, ladies and gentlemen. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam
Waalaikumsalam
warahmatullahi
warahmatullahi
wabarakatuh.
wabarakatuh.
Okay. Honorable, the head and staff of Pgsd or Primary School Teacher Education and at Universitas Muhammadiyah Surakarta, and distinguished speaker Dr. Moses, and all the respected students and participants. Here, I'm Aldi Tri Ramadan, and I have the honor to serve as the moderator for today's visiting lecture tonight. Okay. Today's visiting lecture is part of the elementary Indonesian language education in 2 semester of the PGSD study program at Universitas Muhammadiyah Surakarta. This academic session is intended to enrich our understanding and teaching practices in elementary Indonesian language education, especially at the primary school level. Is it our great privilege to welcome Dr. Moses from Al Hikmah University, Al Lorin, who will be delivering her presentation on the theme is augmented reality for learning English in elementary schools. Maybe before we move on the speaker's presentation, please allow me to share some important guidelines for today's session. To ensure the smooth running of today's lecture, first, please mute your microphone during the presentation and open your camera at the presentation it start. Second, you may write your question in the Zoom chat box, or you may speak up to say your question, which will be addressed during the Q&A session at the end. The third, kindly use respectfully language and academic etiquette throughout the session. Harap bisukan mikrofon Anda selama presentasi dan nyalakan kamera saat presentasi dimulai. Kemudian Anda dapat menulis pertanyaan Anda di kotak obrolan Zoom atau Anda dapat berbicara untuk menyampaikan pertanyaan Anda yang akan dijawab pada sesi tanya jawab di akhir sesi nanti. Kemudian yang ketiga, mohon gunakan bahasa yang sopan dan etika akademik selama sesi berlangsung. Now, allow me to briefly introduce our distinguished speaker, Dr. Moses. Is currently affiliated with Al Hikmah University Al Ain. His academic background and research are focused on educational management and theology, and more research on research methodology, human resource management, educational leadership, information communication technology in education, biblical exegesis, Christian educational philology. To the professional experience from 2023 to 2024, he serves as a research fellow at the Department of Religion Studies, Faculty of Biology and Theology, University of Religions and Denomination in Qom, Iran. Since 2022, he has worked as a research editor at ADE Research Innovation, where his responsibilities include open access publishing, academic editing, proofreading, grammar correction, graphic interpretation, action research, and book reviews. He also contributed as a course module developer for the Nation Teacher Institute in Kaduna, specifically for the Inclusive Education Pedagogies and Classroom, or GSE 326 module. Maybe without further ado, I now invite Dr. Moses to deliver his presentation. Dr. Moses, the floor is yours. And for participant, please turn off the microphone if not needed. Should I to help you to start sharing the presentation, sir?
Yes, please.
Okay, wait.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam.
Let me start by appreciating the lecture committee for this special invitation for me to speak on augmented reality for learning English language in elementary school. As you have all known, this should be my second time speaking in your institution. Let me start with introducing what we should understand by the word augmented reality. Augmented reality is a transformative digital technology that superimposes computer-generated content, such as images, sound, and text onto the physical world. In terms of the smartphone, the tablets, and what have you. Unlike the conventional screen-based learning, augmented reality bridges the gap between the digital instructions and the real-world context by enriching everyday surroundings with interactive content. Now, I'd like to introduce or talk a bit about augmented reality and video reality or virtual reality. The augmented reality enhances the real world by adding digital layer into the physical environment, while the virtual reality immerses the users, which comprises of both myself and yourself as a teacher, to understand the full nitty-gritty of digital setting in our teaching and learning environment. I would like to state that we are in the 21st century, and just as the global experiences of this 21st century teaching aid, we as teachers, we are expected to ensure that all are not left behind in our process of incorporating 21st century digital learning approach when we are delivering our lectures or teaching our students. Now, what is the importance? The next slide, please. What is the importance of English language learning in elementary schools? Just as we have all known that English language is a global language accepted worldwide. Whether you are in an English-speaking country, whether you are in a non-speaking English country, English language is regarded as a global language, accepted as a means of instructions, as a means of communication and dissemination of information. This English language method, it enables us to build a stronger foundational skills in terms of speaking, listening, reading, and writing, which I believe these are the major reasons why the Indonesia government has introduced the English language course for elementary teachers to undergo ahead of their teaching service engagement with the government, so as to disseminate the foundational skills, just as I've mentioned earlier, that has to do with speaking, listening, reading, and writing. So once these objectives are not met, then we are not aligning ourselves to the importance of why the English language is compulsory in our teaching and learning environment. The traditional English teaching method often faces some challenges in terms of the dream-based instructions, which I term as a monotonous lesson. And another challenge is the contextual immersion, which has to do with the application of those language foundational skills. Then what is the role of augmented reality in English language learning? There are major 5 roles that augmented reality can bring into our English language learning environment. And number 1 has to do with the vocabulary visualization. Using augmented reality, we actually enable our learners to be able to project beyond their imagination. Time of align it with the foundational skills, just as I've mentioned, that has to do with the speaking, the writing, the communication, and the listening. Now, it is discovered that at the elementary school, when a child is exposed to a visual learning exposure, it sinks into their mind beyond just using the normal traditional way to communicate to them. For instance, in Nigeria, when you want to teach a child the different alphabets at the elementary school, there is a context we use in time of using teaching aid form of a visual display. For instance, A with a picture of an apple, B with a picture of a ball, C with a picture of a cat. So this is what augmented reality actually is trying to incorporate into the English language learning environment. Another way that this augmented reality will benefit you as a teacher and even to your learners in the form of interactive storytelling. At the elementary school, it is believed that a story comes with a lot of animations or images of either the reality of what the story is actually telling. I could remember when I was in primary school, we have what we call storybooks. Now, in the storybook, to make it more catchy for us to read, as at that time, even when we are not yet at the 21st century skills, then they will still draw some sketch of a woman, a man, a child, the dog, the duck, the hen, and so many other things in form of a picture, just to captivate us, either on the first page of the next page or at the bottom of the next page. Just when you have read the first page, coming to the second page, to make it more interactive, to make it look real, they introduce those visual pictures to encourage the readers, to encourage the learner to see the reason why they need to go further. But assuming it was just a pure plain text, like the normal textbook for adults, I'm telling you categorically that such learner may be discouraged from even going further to exploit what the context of that story is trying to narrate to the reader. Now, the argumented reality has come to stay, and in this 21st century, they are trying to renovate it beyond the imaginative way that the traditional way of disseminating visual storytelling reality in form of a textbook. Now, the augmented reality has brought a new innovation called animation. This animation will allow learners to watch narratives unfolding in their environment without them being in the picture. And if you go for some English language courses, there's a part that you, even as an adult, there is a part meant for you to only listen. And from what you have listened to, can you disseminate the information you have heard from the speaker? There's an aspect that we say, okay, watch this video. From the video without the visual enablement, what can you depict from the picture you have watched without the sound? And this method is just trying to incorporate us into the reality of what augmented reality is bringing to our world. The third benefit has to do with, back to that page. Good. The third benefit has to do with gamified learning. And we all know that gamify has to do with using the method of game to actually disseminate a vital information to the receiver from the sender. So argumentative reality base is introducing a game that has to do with grammar and sentence structuring through form of challenges and reward, just as we have it like a flashcard. We use it in our primary sections, even in Nigeria, just to make the narrative look enjoyable, to look memorial, so as to stick into the mind of our learners, so that even after the class, they will still have it at the back of their mind. The fourth row of benefit that augmented reality we bring to English language learning has to do with pronunciation practices. Let me correct the moderator, although he tried, he did not really get my city correctly because he's not from Nigeria. And there are a lot of pronunciation that I'm also not familiar with, even in the Indonesia. But if I have a form of augmented reality learning device, this will enable me even to learn Indonesian language faster than coming to Indonesia to come and learn the language, either at the university level or using an organization or using stay home learning method. So these are the major role this augmentative reality we bring to English learning environment for you as an elementary teacher. Next slide, please. The benefits. What are the benefits of using augmented reality at the elementary English learning environment? Number one, it will enhance the engagement of both the teacher and even the student, because they are going to see the reality of what they are saying. For somebody who is not an English learner or an English spoken person, you'll be interested when you are using your digital device to listen to a white man speaking the English in a fluent way. Then you wonder, oh, I wish one day I'll be able to speak this way. I wish one day I'll be able to face an English speaking person and be able to interact for a longer period of time. The zeal, the joy to learn is being displayed because you are using a device to actually see the reality beyond the narration. Not just using your imaginative mind now, but you are seeing the reality in form of the digital platform. So I believe it's going to encourage interactive engagement, which can boost the learner motivation to learn, and even for the teacher to be curious, to learn more, to explore more. Another benefit has to do with your creativity mind. Using augmented reality in our elementary school, we spare up our curiosity level to actually know what method we can use to bring out the best, both in our self-development, and at the same time in our contribution to knowledge in the life of our learners. If, for instance, you are familiar with Indonesian language, and when you are speaking Indonesian language, you are faster. But when it comes to English, you think. You'll be curious to know the common English words like come, go, went, gone. You will know when to use those words, know when it is applicable, and know when you can actually use it to express yourself. Because you have seen it in a form. How do people, whether the animated way or whether the gamification way of actually learning the foundational skills using this augmented reality we actually aid you to be saying, oh, I want to know more. I want to desire to see how I becomes better speaking English language. Another benefit is it will give you a retentive way of remembering most of the things that you have learned. And it will also help the learners as well. Because if, for instance, I'm in an environment where they don't speak English, for instance, there is a country nearby, it's called Benin Republic. We are like brothers. It's just less than 5 hours from where I am. If I should go to that country, they are only speaking French, and some of their traditional languages. If I got there as an English speaker, they will be curious to see how I'm speaking and watch my mouth intensively and imagine how come this person can speak this English. Let me shock you. The next day, they will be curious to say, oh, I want to speak with that Nigerian guy. He can speak English. That is only in a traditional way now. Not to talk of using digital now. The memories stick longer. I've never been to India, but we love to watch Indian and Korean film, even in Nigeria. Some that are addicted watchers, when they are watching this Korean film, they understood the language without even looking at the transcript. They try to flow with the language because they are familiar with it. This is the usefulness of us introducing augmented reality in our teaching and learning environment. Because what your eyes process to your brain stick longer than what you read in form of reading. But what you watch processing to your mind, to your brain, and it stick there before coming to your mouth. So I believe using augmented reality in our teaching and learning of English language at the elementary, and even beyond elementary, is going to help our retention capacity as a teacher and even as a learner. The fourth benefit has to do with us now as a teacher to understand the different learning mechanisms to use for each learner. Remember, we have faster learner and we have slow learners. You as a teacher, you need to understand, oh, learner A is good at mathematics. Learner B is good at languages. Learner C is good at innovative courses. So since you have known their uniqueness, you introducing this augmented reality learning instructions, you'll be able to tailor it towards their different learning techniques that works for them. The way you will teach a fast learner is different from the way you teach a slow learner. So we as a teacher, we need to understand these mechanisms so that our teaching and learning environment will be conducive for learners, even for ourselves, to be motivated beyond the reward called salary. Next slide, please. Okay. The augmentative reality learning tools and the applications. Okay. Number 1, 2 has to do with the CUSA vision. It actually, this type of tool is suitable for elementary learners when you have to, turn color drawing into an animation 3D object that speaks. That tool actually enables you to configure what you intend to disseminate to your learners. It comes in form of a drawing using an animational 3D object. Maybe an object that comes out with an animation, giving different example of pronunciation, for instance, or using a verb in a different way in form of a sentence. It will aid your teaching exercise without you stressing to communicate to your student or to your learners. Oh, this is what I meant. Don't get me wrong. This animated tool will actually help you to disseminate your information faster than the traditional way of doing it. The second tool is called Mole Augmented Reality. This tool actually provides a conversational stimulation and vocabulary practice with a virtual teacher. For instance, it can come in a way of programming and animated video clips of a picture of somebody that looks like a teacher. And the picture will just come, or the video can be played. I say, good morning, students. My name is Teacher A. Today's topic, we are going to talk on now. What is now? Now is, you have simplified method to actually help you to disseminate your information to your learner in a way that looks more motivated and creative. If you are saying it for them, they'll be looking at you. But if they are using the picture or from the video clip before you said it, once you ask them what the animated video picture have said, I'm telling you, they will be able to communicate effectively for you. They will say, according to the teacher we saw in the video, it states that now is this, and this. But assuming it was you that said it, it might not sink into their mind faster, like the way the tool has actually disseminated for them. Another tool that I believe is needed in our augmented reality learning environment is the narrator augmented reality tool. This actually enhances the handwriting in form of using an animation to write in form of writing in the real world. Picture of a cartoon coming up to say, hey, showing the student how to write A. B, 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 C, 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 D, 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 and so on and so forth. So you don't have to repeat yourself on the board, trying to demonstrate for them how to even go with little things. Oh, learner C, your handwriting was rough. Can you listen to this video and see the way to write? C, you don't bring it so low, you don't bring it too wide, you just manage the row. C, C. And it interests them, and when they get home, You say, Mom, you know what? We learned so fast today in the class. Really? What excites you about today's class? Oh, our teacher actually played a video clip of a cartoon for us to see. And it was showing us how to write. It was showing us how to do it. I cannot do it better. Let me show you. Because they are motivated already by those tools that the teacher has actually implemented in the teaching and learning environment. Next slide, please. Now, you as a teacher, I must encourage you that you need to incorporate into your teaching and learning environment a comprehensive strategies on how to implement augmented reality tools in your classroom. So I will encourage you to start very simple. How do you start simple? Just begin with one of these tools that I mentioned. You can bring it in form of vocabulary or storytelling, just to see the reactions and reality of how your learners will actually see what you are saying. You know, there's a proverb in Nigeria that says, when a child sees something from afar, curiosity is high. But by the time you allow the child to taste the sweetness of what you are showing from afar, the excitement will be high. So I encourage you to start very simple in a way that they will understand what trying to plan those steps with a purpose. Oh, let me use moderative AR to actually teach verb, for instance, or elementary ones learners. You start with starting with common verbs, forming it in a simple sentence, restructuring a sentence to form what you have done. Those are your purposes in mind, which you have started from explaining what a verb is before moving into the stage of understand how it is being formed into a sentence. So start with small, have a plan at mind, or plan with purpose. Another way, you are to use project-based learning. It's going to help you a lot. Oh, students, on Monday, I want you all guys to come with a project. You can even start with them using a sketch from the video you have listened to today in class. Tomorrow, when I come into school, write a narrative story of a boy and a girl who went for an holiday in Paris. Use a sketch to describe your story. You know, those all learners are not the same, but those that has a high level of assimilating information faster will be curious to see how do I do this assignment? How do I make this thing right? The curiosity in them will be high. But if you only teach them and they are gone, and the next class say, good morning, student, or good afternoon, student. We are here to continue with our lecture. And yesterday we talked about Phil. Today we'll be talking about Proverbs. They will only be responding to everything you said without a feedback. So the best way to even get their feedback using AR is by engaging them with project-based learning. It actually brings out the zeal, the eagerness, the motivation that every learner needs, the curiosity for the next class. The last implementation strategies that is expected of you as an educator, you need to involve your students in the creation process. You know, gone are the days when they say, oh, this thing is not meant for children. No, I can categorically tell you that in Nigeria context, there are some parents that is their children that help them to operate their mobile phone in a complex way. They don't even have one. Because once they give them their mobile phone, they are eager to play games. They are eager to do one or two things. And so most of the time, the parents will tell you, oh, don't touch my phone. I don't have battery on my phone. Don't touch my phone. Oh, go and rest first. Oh, go and do this. Because the child is always curious to pick their parent's mobile phone. Just because something is triggering them. But if you ask them to go and pick the hard notebook to read, they find it so compelling. Oh, I'm tired, mom. I just came back from school. I need to rest. But if you give them their mobile phone, they will never complain. So always involve your students or your learners when you are trying to create those AR learning aid that you intend to use for them. Next slide, please. Okay, the challenges that may come up using AR. These challenges that I've listed here might really not be applicable to all situations. Reason being that you cannot compare the rural learning environment with urban learning environment. So that is the major reason why I've actually come up with these challenges. And I term it challenges and considerations. So it might not be applicable to everybody. The number one challenge is access to technology. You know, not every school has the technological device that can be implemented in this AR learning environment. So this non-access to technology can actually hinder the implementation of AR in our elementary school. Internet can also be an hindrance in time of technology because there are some content that will involve using the internet. And when the learner or the educator doesn't have access to those technology, though he doesn't have access to the internet because of the geographical location of the school, it becomes a challenge to the teacher who is craving for the implementation of AR. Another challenge is teachers' readiness or teachers' training. You know, not everybody or not every educator is actually ready to implement the robust benefits that AR is bringing to our learning environment. They find it so hard. Oh, let us just stick to the traditional way of doing it. And they will be explaining using imaginative narrations. But the implementation of this AR can actually help them to have a stress-free environment where they will be able to disseminate their information faster and accurate. Another area that challenges can come up is the curriculum implementation. This might also not be applicable at your current location, but I see it as a challenge for those that are not having those facilities. So implementing it in their teaching and learning environment might be a difficult first. Another one, glass challenges that may come up is the time and the cost implication for the implementation of this AR at our various teaching and learning environments. Next slide, please. So, in conclusion, I will suggest that we as teachers, we should carry out a pilot study. And this time around, you don't need to use any instrument. You can even approach your learners to actually hear their view. It's a form of carrying out a pilot study. Oh, learner A, how will you feel if we start using our smartphone to learn English language in form of animation, in form of robot, in form of visual display, and so on, in form of project learning environment, in form of giving you assignment to go and work like a project. Try to ask for their view and see their reactions and see their readiness to the implementation of AR in their class. Another way, I believe that teachers should actually undergo some workshop to expose them to the reality of AR that has been brought into our environment. And I believe the workshop we have an impactful section to their mind and their readiness. Because, when a man doesn't know the usefulness of a certain thing, he might not use it effectively. If I don't know the usefulness of a biro, I may not know when to use it effectively. And when in Nigeria context, for instance, when a child starts school, he starts with a pencil. There was a time I was using pencil. Then my senior sister was using the biro, the pen. Then I asked, why am I not giving this kind of pen? And I was told, oh, it's not yet time. When you get to the stage, we give you the pen. But right now, you can make errors. That is the reason why you have been given a pencil, so as to use the eraser to erase your error. But she is more older, and they believe even if she made any error, the error will be small. So keep using the pencil. When you get to a class, you will also use a pen. Then I was calm. But assuming I was not giving that explanation, I felt maybe they are trying to stigmatize me, or they are trying to belittle me and see maybe, oh, he's only going to school. What is he even learning in school? But because of their explanation, I saw the different usefulness of each device. So I encourage that teachers should undergo a workshop to actually expose them to the reality of AR. And another way is localizing the content. The way I will teach using AR in Nigeria is different from the way you teach using AR in Indonesia, because we are English speakers. So it's easier for me, being an English speaker, I don't need to translate. I just speak. But as an Indonesian speaker, you need to first localize the content before saying it in English for your learners to actually understand what you are saying. Although in the Nigeria context, there are some traditional languages. There are some areas that the traditional languages is still predominantly practiced. So in such place, we first localize the content before disseminating it to our desires. And you cannot know all this without the usefulness of the workshop. Then the government and the policy makers should create a driven innovation that will actually make the teachers to see that they understand the techniques and the usefulness of using AR. Next slide, please. That's all.
Yeah, Dr. Moses, that's all the presentation from your material
Thank you
for
so much.
today.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, okay, sure. Okay, that's all presentation for Dr. Moses about augmented reality um for learning English in elementary schools. That was so amazing for the material, Dr. Moses, and thank you very much for the insightful and thought-provoking presentation on augmented reality for learning English in elementary schools. Your perspective, especially a role of AR or augmented reality in English language learning, provide rich input for your academic and practical understanding. Okay, the next session um, is Q&A for participants. We will now open the floor for a Q&A session. I will read out a few questions from the Zoom chat box, or you may speak up to say your question. So we welcome to the participant for the question. Untuk teman-temanku semuanya, um, boleh silakan yang ingin bertanya em, melalui chat box atau mungkin teman-teman bisa langsung mengatakan apa yang ingin ditanyakan dengan memperkenalkan diri terlebih dahulu begitu. Dan untuk dua penanya pertama dengan berani untuk berbicara dengan menggunakan mikrofon and English, kami dari penanggung jawab pada visiting lecture kali ini akan memberikan hadiah begitu. Dipersilahkan. Uh, Hello, Dr. Moses. Can I to stop the sharing material?
Yes, please.
Okay, thank you, Doctor. Okay, for the participants, we welcome to your question.
I have some
Yeah,
question.
okay. From siapa ini namanya? Okay, go. Adi Prabowo. Okay.
Okay, I have some question to Mr. Moses. Mr. Moses, earlier you explained the advantage or benefits of using augmented reality in elementary education, like enhanced engagement, creativity, better retention, or different learning. And the question is, what is some remote areas don't have proper infrastructure, for example, have internet access or have never used a smartphone or laptop or iPad or other devices? Is there a more efficient method we can apply for teaching besides augmented reality?
Yeah, you can actually improvise when those devices are not available, but it's going to cost you more because that means you are going to get it printed in a hard copy way. That's the only improvisation you can actually implement because you know they are in form of a picture, and there's no way you can actually get a picture for your nanas to actually see without you printing it out, since you have eliminated those devices as mentioned by you. Have I answer your question?
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Moses.
Okay, thank you, Adi Bravo, for your question. And another question, or maybe one question again from another participants in the physics lecture today. You can raise hand or just say have question and go say your question. Go. We will come for you guys.
I think you should check the chat box. I can see some things on the chat box.
Santika, kalau ada pertanyaan boleh dicek boleh di apa? Di chat boxnya dikirim enggak apa-apa. Yang penting menggunakan bahasa Inggris saja.
Okay, I think it's just a Google form for attendance, right?
What's Mr. Moses? What?
Can you get me? Can you hear what I said?
Maybe this is from Santika. Is like she wants to she have question but uh
Okay.
not yet to write the question on chat box like that. Okay, Dr. Moses, the question from Santika at the on the chat box. Should I to read that or
I have a question. Is
yeah?
AR the most relevant method learning for children, or we can combine with another method? It depends. Just like I said, you have to understand. You have to understand your learners' different learning mode. Are they fast learners? Are they slow learners? And you have to understand their needs. Because if you don't understand the need of a child, you only be using assumptional. And I said, if learner A is good at English language, if learner B is good at mathematics, if learner C is good at something that has to do with creativity courses. So after you have identified those needs by your learners, then you cannot know which approach is best for such learner personally now to enhance their motivation level. For instance, if a learner, you discover a learner can actually fit in well for AR, why not implement it? If you feel like, oh, for this course, I think the best approach to use is gamification, go ahead. If you believe that the best approach to use is storytelling, go ahead. The most important thing is let your learning objective be achieved. And that's why I said you should start small. I start with pilot study, which will actually help you to actually know the approach to use. After the pilot study, the next is to start small. When you start small, that is when you discover if the approach you are using is accurate or not. or you need to look for another approach to use. Each approach is unique, but it should meet the basic need of your learners, because you are not teaching animals. You are teaching human beings that have different motive, different feelings, and you cannot teach them when they are not motivated. So you need to understand which approach will motivate them to learn more and to learn faster than forcing an approach on them because you felt, oh, I'm good at this approach. No. So I think I've answered your question, right?
Oke, Santika, eh, apakah sudah terjawab? Hello, Santika, the answer? Okay, it's a no, sir, from Santika
Okay.
for the question, for the answer, I mean. Okay, guys, because the question is enough, maybe it's a question for visiting lecture today. Maybe I want to close the visiting lecture
Okay.
for today. And before that, ladies and gentlemen, we have now come to the end of this visiting lecture. Um, to summarize a few key takeaways from today's session. The summarize is augmented reality revolution English learning in elementary school by transforming passive instruction into active immersive experience through interactive storytelling, gamified listen, and real-time feedback. ER enhance student engagement, creativity, and retention. Despite challenges such as technology access and the need for teacher training, strategic implementation, starting with pilot programs and a localized content, can maximize its impact. ER stands as a powerful tool to enrich language education and prepare students for a globalizing world. Before we stop the or we close the fishing lecture, Mr. Blanket, should we to take a photo before we end it?